Welcome to the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Authors Unite. Authors Unite makes the process of becoming a published, best-selling author as simple as sipping your morning cup of coffee. You can learn more about Authors Unite at authorsunite.com. Now, let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today, I have Jacob Engel with us. He leads CEOs and executive teams to higher effectiveness. He is the founder and CEO at Yetta LLC, author of The Prosperous Leader, former CEO of a $200 million family-owned food and real estate business. So welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate you having me.
Of course. Grateful to have you here. We'll jump right into the first one, Jacob. The first one I have for you is, what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
So that's a tough question, but I will be very open and honest. As a kid, I was told that I won't amount to much. I was a lousy student, and I was thrown out of class more times than I wish to remember. The saving grace was that I was and still am, an avid reader. So everything I know and I learned is self-taught. And today, believe it or not, I lecture in front of CEOs, MBAs, even PhDs. Ironically, I have a very good friend, a PhD friend of mine, that calls me continuously and asks me all kinds of advice. And I jokingly said to him, "Alan, you're the PhD." And he said, "Yes, Jacob, but you're smarter than the PhDs." So it's very validating.
And what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
So I come from a very large family business, and family businesses are notorious for not making it to the next generation. 70 or 80% don't make it to the next generation. And it requires so many different skill sets and knowledge in order to transition to generation to next generation. And I've studied continuously what makes the family businesses successful, why is leadership so important, and how to get the generational transition to work. And a great quote that comes to mind is Harold Kushner, who said that nobody on their deathbed ever said that they wanted to spend more time in the office. So getting the founders or the CEOs to transition over to the next generation is very important, but requires a lot of skill sets.
And what is your best piece of overall business advice, so not necessarily industry specific?
Right. So that's a very good question. And probably the thing that I'd like to share most with CEOs or leadership teams, and many people don't realize it, that there's a huge difference between what it is known today as hard skills and which people refer today as the hard soft skills, or IQ and EQ. And the predictor of success is more the EQ than the IQ. Knowing the soft skills, the communication skills, team leadership, team cooperation, collaboration and cooperation, those are skill sets that are not taught that often and are very important for success. So focus on both. A great quote that I heard once is that many people get hired for skills but fired for attitude. And I say hire for attitude and train for skills.
And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Be kind to yourself and forgive yourself. As I said, I was thrown out of class, and I believed that I was a failure and never be able to be successful. Today I coach successful CEOs, and I really believe that we can reinvent ourselves. We need to be kind to ourselves and to forgive ourselves.
And in your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
Okay, so I did some research for my book, The Prosperous Leader, and I came across a very interesting piece of advice that was written years ago. I'm talking about written in the first half of the 11th century by a famous author whose name was Bahya ibn Pakuda. And he lived in Spain. This was written in Judeo-Arabic in the year 1040. And what he shares is that there are three reasons why people are unhappy in their lives and the vice versa of what creates happiness. And it's so relevant till today that I quoted and I have it in my book. So the number one thing he says, the biggest key to unhappiness and vice versa is jealousy. And there will always be somebody better looking, richer, smarter. So drop that jealousy. Stop comparing yourself to others. The second thing he talks about is what we call today the attitude of gratitude. Really looking at what we do have versus what we don't have and being grateful for the things we do have. And the third thing he talks about is what's called the abundance mentality versus the scarcity mentality. Share with others, be kind to others, give other people opportunities. The more you give, the more you get back. And Tyler, I do want to commend you for being a great example of that. And I know we've never met, but hopefully we will. And you share with the community, and that is a real abundance mentality, and that is a key to happiness.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, and I agree with you. And I'm excited for your answer on this next one too. So, what is the best book that you've read? I know it's probably kind of hard. And what is the number one thing you learned from it?
Right. So I've read many, many books. As I've said, I'm an avid reader, but probably the book that has the biggest impact, and I continuously use it till today, and recommend everybody for it to be there after the Bible. It would be The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey. And the reason why, excuse me, and the reason is because what he talks about is the private victory versus the public victory, meaning that we need to first work on what he calls the victory over self. And if we work on ourselves first and we self-improve and we reflect and we're aware, then we can collaborate and cooperate with other people. And that's an important message because most people, if you ask them if they want to be successful, they will tell you yes. But then they'll sort of say, if my boss would change, if my spouse would change, if my schools would change, if the world would change. And the only person that you can change is yourself. So focus on yourself first. And this is a great book to use. I call it my second Bible.
And I love that book as well. And what is your favorite quote and why?
So I've got 10 quotes from my dad. I worked with him for many, many years. And he's got some great quotes. The number one quote he used a lot was never confuse efforts for results. And, I would tell him, I've tried so hard. And too often people say, I've tried and it's good enough, but really focus on the results. And then he had a second great quote. Sorry for putting in two,
No,
but he would tell people that everybody can sell $1 for 99 cents.
Oh, okay. And dude, thank you so much for coming on. This was a very insightful episode. The last one I have for you before we let you go is where's the best place for everyone to find you online?
So LinkedIn and my website is theprosperousleader.com, www.theprosperousleader.com, and I'm on LinkedIn.
Perfect, man. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Tyler.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.